Ever wonder how some organizations just seem to effortlessly hit peak performance? Constantly innovate, keep customers happy, while others just wrestle with inefficiency. Well, it's not magic. It's really a deep commitment to something called operational excellence. Today, we're going to take a deep dive into that world, specifically focusing on the power of the lean philosophy, how it can transform things. We've pulled together your sources, articles, research, expert insights, basically giving you a shortcut to understanding what it really takes to lift an organization's game. Our mission: extract the most important bits, highlight maybe some surprising facts, and help you grasp the why behind what actually works.
Yeah, and what's really interesting, I think, is that lean, at its core, isn't just a set of tools. It's fundamentally a mindset, as Davy Hogg puts it, a way of thinking. It's this commitment to achieving a totally waste-free operation, but one that's really laser-focused on your customer's success. And you get there by simplifying, continuously improving, well, everything. Processes, relationships, all within an environment built on trust, respect, and crucially, full employee involvement. So ultimately, yeah, lean is about people, simplicity, flow, visibility, partnerships, and delivering that true value, the value the customer actually sees.
Right. And to really get the genius of lean, we kind of have to go back in time, don't we, to post-war Japan. Picture Toyota. They were a relatively small car maker then, facing huge resource constraints, but they were determined to compete with these much bigger Western companies. And out of that necessity, they didn't just build cars. They engineered this, well, revolutionary philosophy, the Toyota way. It became the gold standard for operational excellence globally. It's a pretty amazing origin story. Innovation born from constraint, and it's really the foundation for everything we're digging into today. So let's unpack this.
It's definitely a journey into how organizations can systematically improve. And yeah, it starts with understanding those core ideas.
Okay, so we hear operational excellence and lean thrown around a lot. Sometimes they almost feel interchangeable, like buzzwords. But the sources we looked at, they paint a much richer picture. So what's the fundamental shift in thinking here? What separates real operational excellence from just, chasing efficiency?
That's the key question, isn't it? It's not just about doing things faster. The philosophy, like the sources describe it, really hinges on this commitment to continuous improvement. But it's driven by leadership, by teamwork, and this unwavering focus on the customer. It's about empowering everyone to optimize processes, not just once, but like forever. And the central idea of lean itself, it's actually brilliantly simple: maximize customer value while minimizing waste. Think of it like a skilled sculptor. They don't just hack away randomly. They carefully remove only what isn't essential to reveal the art inside. Maximum impact, minimum material. The ultimate goal is, well, it's pretty ambitious: perfect value to the customer through a perfect value creation process that has zero waste.
Wow, perfect value, zero waste. So how do you even start tackling something that radical?
Yeah.
Our sources point to James Womack and Daniel Jones. They laid out a kind of 5-step thought process for this lean transformation. It starts, you said, by specifying value from the customer standpoint. What do they really care about? Then you actively identify and just eliminate the steps that don't add value in the whole process. Make the important value-creating steps flow tightly together. Then let customers pull value, meaning you only make what's needed when it's needed.
Right, exactly. Avoids that massive overproduction wave.
And finally, the 5th step, maybe the hardest one: continuously pursue perfection. It's a cycle, not a one-off project.
It is, and if you connect that back to the bigger picture, that overarching goal of operational excellence, it really comes down to getting the right things to the right place in the right quantities at the right time and at the desired quality the first time, while minimizing waste and being open to embrace change. It's truly holistic. Everything's connected.
And when we talk about hitting that goal, it's basically impossible not to bring up the Toyota way. Dr. Jeffrey Liker, in our sources, notes that Toyota has turned operational excellence into a strategic weapon. Its foundation is those famous 14 principles. So what makes this more than just a checklist of good ideas? What makes it a strategic weapon?
It's the depth, I think, and the integration. Those 14 principles are, well, they're a masterclass. They fall into 4 key areas. The first is this unwavering long-term philosophy. Principle 1 specifically. It says base management decisions on a long-term view, even at the expense of short-term financial goals. Now, that's a really bold stance, and frankly, a very tough one for many companies, especially publicly traded ones, right?
Oh, absolutely. That takes a different kind of courage, a really clear vision from the top, because those quarterly pressures are just immense. It really highlights a deep cultural challenge, doesn't it?
It really does. Then the second area, the right process produces the right results. This includes things like creating continuous process flow, using the pull system to avoid overproduction, and leveling out the workload that's hijinka. The advice is work like the tortoise, not the hare. Steady wins the race. But maybe the biggest mental hurdle here, even for people who know a bit about this, is Principle 5, building a culture of stopping to fix problems for quality. In so many places, the instinct is just push through, keep the line moving, hit the numbers. Toyota actually empowers workers to stop production if a defect's found.
Stop the whole line.
Yeah, to fix the root cause right then and there. That's a huge shift in priorities. It needs immense trust and that long-term view we talked about. It's like, imagine a surgeon stopping mid-operation to re-sterilize if there's any doubt, rather than just pushing on and hoping for the best.
That's a powerful comparison.
Yeah.
It shows just how much thought goes into every step and that absolute focus on quality over just sheer output.
Totally. The third area focuses on adding value by developing people and partners. So, growing leaders who really get the philosophy and can teach it. Developing exceptional people and teams who are aligned with it. And respecting your partners and suppliers, challenging them to improve too.
Okay, so we've got processes, people, long-term view. But what makes Toyota a true learning organization? The sources point to that fourth key area, how they relentlessly solve root problems to drive continuous learning. That sounds like where the real magic happens, maybe.
It absolutely is. This involves going and seeing for yourself, or Kanchigenmutsu, getting out there, understanding situations firsthand, not just looking at reports. It's about making decisions slowly by consensus, getting buy-in, but then implementing them really rapidly, and becoming that learning organization through relentless reflection, that's Hansei, and continuous improvement, Kaizen. Those last two, Hansei and Kaizen, they are truly at the heart of LAN, right alongside respect for people. You can't separate them.
And underlying all this is the idea of attacking waste. The sources mention the 3Ms, Muda, Muri, Mira, and specifically Muda, the non-value-added stuff. One source described Muda as an open trench that stops you from flowing smoothly. That's a really vivid image, isn't it? Makes waste feel active, like sabotage.
It does. It's not passive.
And Muda breaks down into 8 forms. Some are obvious, like defects or overproduction, but others, like non-utilization of talent, feel subtler. Can you give us a quick example of how that might show up? Maybe one that's not immediately obvious?
Oh, sure. That's a great one because it's often hidden. Imagine you've got a brilliant data analyst, right?
Yeah.
Highly skilled. But they spend a huge chunk of their week just manually compiling reports that could easily be automated. That's classic talent non-utilization. It's not just inefficient, it's draining their potential for innovation, it hurts morale because their core skills aren't being used where they add the most value. And it gets overlooked because, well, the work is technically getting done, just not smartly.
Right. So the full list is defects, overproduction, waiting, non-utilized talent, transportation, inventory, motion, and excessive processing. But yeah, spotting that human element of waste, that's tough.
It really is. It shows how waste isn't just a byproduct, it's an active blocker, especially when it involves people's potential.
Which brings us right back to mindset, doesn't it? To really attack waste and make lean work, you need this fundamental shift in thinking.
You absolutely do. It's moving from being reactive, thinking good enough is good enough, to being constantly curious, proactively solving problems. It's the difference between hearing, we've never done it that way before, and someone responding, okay, let's be the pioneers then. Or shifting from it's good enough to there's always room for improvement. And maybe the most striking contrast for me, the question, when is a good time to start versus the lean answer, now is good. That's a huge internal shift. And honestly, it's why so many lean implementations can sometimes, well, stumble.
So it sounds like leadership commitment is just completely non-negotiable. But what happens in places where leaders think they're committed? Maybe they say the right things, but their actions don't quite match the philosophy. What are the subtle ways that goes wrong?
That's where it gets really insidious. The sources highlight some critical failure points. Maybe there's no shared vision or values, or there's no constancy of purpose, that sustained sense of urgency for continuous improvement, it fades. Often, leaders are sort of intellectually on board, but they don't follow through with genuine, consistent involvement themselves. They don't go see, they don't ask the right questions, or they might treat lean like it's just a toolkit you implement, pick a few tools, do a project, instead of a whole business philosophy you have to live by. And this leads to what's called eilers of excellence. You know, one department might see amazing gains, but the organization as a whole, it doesn't transform. It never really takes root everywhere.
Right. Which is why managing the change itself is so critical. People naturally resist it, and often for very understandable human reasons. We're talking about fear, right? Fear of the unknown, fear of failure, maybe genuinely disagreeing that change is needed, or just feeling like you're losing something valuable, leaving your comfort zone. There can be false beliefs, misunderstandings, lack of trust, or just plain old inertia, being stuck.
Exactly. All very real. So, to overcome this, leaders need to be crystal clear. Explain why you're doing it. Really win hearts and minds by selling the benefits, not just the features. And crucially, focus on the process, not the people, when things go wrong. Provide the necessary training, offer constant support, and measure follow-up. There's a change management guide model mentioned that sums it up nicely. Success happens when vision plus resources plus commitment are all there. Take away any one of those. You end up with confusion or frustration or disappointment or maybe just a series of false starts that go nowhere. You need all three legs of the stool.
Okay, so this is a big undertaking. What does this mean for someone trying to navigate all these improvement ideas? The sources are clear. There is no silver bullet. No single approach fits every single business need. Often you need to combine these best-class philosophies. So, when might an organization look beyond just lean, or maybe blend it with other approaches?
It's a really important point. Lean is fantastic for streamlining flow, killing waste. But say you're battling a specific stubborn quality problem, like defects that just won't go away. That's where Six Sigma might come in. It offers this really disciplined, data-driven toolkit specifically designed to eliminate defects with almost surgical precision. The goal is near perfection, think less than 3.4 defects per million opportunities. It often uses that DMAIC method: define, measure, analyze, improve, control, very structured. Or maybe you feel like there's one specific bottleneck holding back your entire organization. Everything queues up behind it. Then the theory of constraints, TOC, could be useful. It laser focuses on identifying and then exploiting or breaking that single system constraint instead of trying to optimize everything all at once. And then you have broader frameworks too, like total quality management, TQM, which really emphasizes that quality is everyone's job in every activity. Or the balanced scorecard, which helps tie performance metrics back to the overall strategy across different areas: financial, customer, internal processes, learning, and growth. It gives you a much wider view of success than just profits.
Got it. So they're not competing ideas. Necessarily, more like different tools in the toolbox, potentially complementary. But even within lean itself, there are some essential practical tools that really bring the principles to life, right?
Absolutely. One of the most powerful, I think, is value stream mapping, VSM. It's primarily a visual tool. You map out the entire flow of materials and information for a specific product or service. It helps you literally see the waste, the delays, the bottlenecks. But it's not just a picture, it's quantitative too. You put data on it: cycle times, wait times, inventory levels. It helps pinpoint exactly where the problems are and forms the basis for your improvement plan. Our sources actually lay out 8 steps to creating one. Another really useful one is the Kano model. This helps you understand customer satisfaction on a deeper level. It categorizes customer needs into basic things they just expect, performance things where more is better, and excitement factors the unexpected delights. It helps you focus your efforts beyond just meeting basic expectations towards actually wowing your customer.
Okay, this is where it gets really, really interesting for me. All these tools, philosophies, they sound great on paper. But what about the people? Our sources hit this hard. Culture cannot be copied. And people are your only appreciating assets. Their value is in their creativity, passion, and commitment. How does lean actually leverage that?
This is truly the bedrock. You can copy tools, but you can't easily copy culture. Take Toyota's view of problems, for example. It's profoundly different from a lot of traditional Western thinking. Instead of immediately looking for who to blame when something goes wrong, Toyota views a problem as a deviation from standard within the system. Individuals are actually encouraged to flag the problem, to call attention to it for assistance, not necessarily try to be the hero and solve it alone in isolation. This fosters a culture where problem-solving skills can and must be taught and improved collectively. It's about shared responsibility for the system's health.
So developing people means training them on the standardized work, yes, but also teaching them to see problems not as personal failures, but as opportunities for the system to get better. And then engaging them in Kaizen, that continuous improvement cycle, even improving their own workstations. It's like this ongoing loop of learning and refining.
Exactly right. There's a model mentioned, the Lean Leadership Development Diamond Model. It really illustrates this. It emphasizes 4 connected areas, all driven by continuous Plan-Do-Check-Act or PDCA learning cycles. First, leaders have to commit to their own self-development, really internalizing the core values, the true north. Then they need to coach and develop others, challenge them to reach their potential. Third, support daily improvement. Build that capability right there on the front lines. And finally, create the vision and align goals, both vertically up and down the hierarchy and horizontally across different departments.
So leaders aren't just managers giving orders. They're really seen as teachers, as talent scouts, as people who align everyone towards common goals. We even heard about T-type leaders, people who develop deep expertise in one specific area, the vertical bar of the T, before broadening their leadership skills across functions, the horizontal bar. That implies a very different career path, doesn't it? Where deep expertise and coaching ability are valued just as highly as climbing the traditional management ladder.
It absolutely does. And if you connect this to the bigger picture, lean is fundamentally a team sport. You have to solve problems across functions. It requires individual responsibility, sure, but within that team activity, you need platforms for collaboration. Which raises a key question for any leader listening. How do you actually foster that kind of environment effectively?
Well, the sources give some pretty concrete pointers for leaders. Critical success factors include regularly go to the Gemba. That's the actual place where the work happens. Go see, don't just rely on reports. They need to become experts themselves in process improvement. They need to be skilled teachers and coaches. Value developing people. Actively select and develop future leaders. And maybe the simplest but most important, talk to the people and listen to them. Really listen. It all comes back to genuinely engaging with and respecting your people, doesn't it?
It absolutely does. And that brings us neatly to the practical side, the implementation. It is so crucial to understand lean is not a quick fix. It just isn't. It's a continuous and living entity, a long-term philosophy. It demands relentless improvement. If you approach it thinking it's a short-term project or a quick fix, you're basically guaranteeing failure. It's a marathon, not a sprint.
So that total commitment is absolutely vital. Success really hinges on lean being embraced and driven from the top down. It needs strong will and ambitious outlook from the leadership. And like you said earlier, everyone must be involved. But this also means putting in significant groundwork, right? Often before you even see the big results.
It certainly does. Implementing these principles, even though they sound simple conceptually, requires meticulous groundwork. Documenting your current processes accurately, conducting time studies, establishing robust controls. This can feel like mountains of work that drain resources and don't show results right at the beginning. It's a significant upfront investment that demands patience and real belief from leadership before those tangible benefits start flowing.
Okay, so it really needs that goal-driven approach. Break it down. Smaller, manageable tasks, reasonable time frames, proper resources, crucial. And when those goals are met, you have to celebrate. The sources say success should be celebrated often. Big wins, small wins, keep the motivation high. But beyond just celebrating, what's the impact of actually sharing the benefits?
Oh, it's transformative. When you go beyond just pats on the back and actually share the financial gains, reinvesting in better equipment, improve facilities, developing personnel further, even benefiting customers, it fundamentally changes the dynamic. It shifts employees towards feeling like they have more of a stake, almost more of a management role in a way. They become invested in continuing the success. It fosters that ongoing engagement. Some key steps mentioned for execution include that initial management commitment to CI, establishing the vision, thoroughly mapping value streams, comprehensive training for everyone, running pilot projects first to learn and build confidence.
Right. Start small, prove it works, then scale. And it doesn't just stay on the shop floor, does it? It expands to office processes, even working with suppliers and customers. And eventually, maybe converting from that traditional top-down leadership to more bottom-up initiatives where ideas flow upwards. And finally, adaptation. You have to let the system grow and adapt. If something isn't working, change it. Don't be afraid to admit shortcomings. Audit, evaluate, adapt. That continuous learning loop again.
Exactly. And underpinning all that flexibility, all that adaptation, is the power of detailed documentation. It sounds boring, but it's incredibly powerful. It provides concrete examples of successes and failures. It marks milestones. It builds the foundation for better process maps. It's a way to share knowledge. It's how you apply what went right across the board and, just as importantly, avoid repeating what went wrong.
Okay, so pulling this all together, what does it all mean for us? What we've really unpacked today shows that operational excellence, especially when you look at it through the lens of lean, it's not just a collection of tools or some trendy buzzword. It's a really profound, holistic shift in how an organization thinks, how it operates, how it leads, and maybe most importantly, how it truly values its people. It's this continuous journey of relentless improvement, deep customer focus, and that unwavering elimination of anything that doesn't add value.
Yeah, the key takeaway, I think, is crystal clear. The success of any operational excellence initiative, whether it's Lean or Six Sigma or something else, it ultimately hinges on that unwavering long-term commitment. And crucially, cultivating a specific culture, one that genuinely respects people, embraces change, and constantly, relentlessly seeks perfection. It's not something you can just buy off the shelf. It's something you have to build day by day, decision by decision.
So if culture cannot be copied and people are your only appreciating assets, maybe the provocative thought to leave you with is this. How might you identify and cultivate the unique human potential within your own sphere, whether it's your team, your department, or your whole organization? How can you make that potential the unshakable foundation for whatever kind of excellence you're pursuing?